I believe in a common calling where our temples pray as one. I believe in the word of wonder and a kingdom for
What's up, Larry? What's up, everybody?
Hey, how's it going?
I just got back from getting an IV done. I go out of town tomorrow and I get the nastiest sinus infection like right before I leave. My son's home sick today too with some bug. So I was like, gosh. But what else? What's going on? We'll get on our subject. I was watching I forget the name. We talked about it last time. Muscle Discord. Yeah, I guess that Stacks guy is on there. I don't know if you know.
Yeah, I kind of watched like 5 minutes of it and then I turned it off.
Yeah, I saw like the middle part about the drama. I don't know Mike Van Wyck. I didn't even know he was a bodybuilder. I just saw his YouTube probably about like half a year ago.
He's that guy that hangs out with Fuad.
Yeah. I didn't even know he was a bodybuilder until recently because he doesn't look like a body. Even when you're retired, you still like retain a certain look. But and then I saw a couple of his YouTube stuff, and I didn't really know. It's kind of weird, they have that Canadian clique all up there.
I think he's just one of Fuad's workout partners. I don't think he competes or anything.
He used to. He turned pro.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I had no idea. Like I said, I listened to 5 minutes and I turned it off.
Yeah, I guess he's starting drama with everybody. You remember their little altercation at the show, that Stacks and him and that his buddy.
No, I started to listen to it and I turned it off because I didn't care.
Oh, it wasn't that, but I was like I guess it was at the Olympia, the Arnold or Olympia, that Joey Stacks was going back and forth with Mike Van Wyck. Mike Van Wyck was somebody with his company. I guess he used to do. I guess he's with Mike's company, and he was telling the other guy that he was going to take his life, and then he texted him his own address later on, like some crazy shit. There wasn't even anything to get like an argument over, and this guy just came out of the blue and at an expo and just started talking crazy, like, I'll take your life, you don't know who I am, I serve time. I don't know what does have serving time and having to take someone's life? That's so crazy. And it's like, and then Mike Van Wyck got into it with the guy. Oh, I know, they got upset because Eric Kanifsky, that guy that does the pranks, like, how tall are you, how much do you weigh? They were so mad that he asked them that. Like, if someone asked me how tall I was and how much I weighed, I would tell. That wouldn't bother me, would it you?
No, I could care less.
I was like, okay, yeah, sure. Guess, yeah, I don't lie about my weight. A lot of bodybuilders do lie about their height and weight. But I'd be like, yeah, I checked my weight. I don't lie. And then Fuad got really mad too. And then Mike Van Wyck got mad. And then it turned really nasty. And then I guess one of the friends, he was taller. He was like probably like 6'2", but really skinny. And Mike Van Wyck was like, well, let's go outside right now. Let's go outside. And the guy's like, okay, let's go. And then Mike was just like, he's like, let's go. And Mike was just kept standing there. He didn't really want to go outside. So I don't know. I don't really know those guys, but it was just some drama going on. But we'll start off with a few questions and then we'll get rolling. Armon, Larry, any tips on arm growth? Been lifting 12 years. My arm's always been weak point. Tried every method out there. Nothing seems to work. Whole body's big. Legs and arms. I know we have different philosophies training. You want to go first, Larry?
So my arms were always like the struggling point for me too, compared to like my back and my legs grew like much faster, my torso. So I tried almost everything, and basically I do high intensity, but what I found seems to help with arms is I do some like really high rep sets, like 20 sets of 20, still like almost a failure at 20, but like I'll go like a set of 20 and then a set of 15, then a set of 10, and then a drop set. So I'm getting like all the rep ranges in there, and that seems to put a lot of blood volume into it. And the other thing I started doing recently was occlusion training, and it seems to work. It just, the blood gets in there and it can't get out. So you get this crazy ass pump with it. But I think
all the studies show that it works, but I've done it before. I didn't like it. I didn't like how it felt.
Well, what I do is I've tried it different ways. Like, first of all, if you can't lift as much weight when you have the bands on. So what I'll do is like my two first exercises, heavy movement, like dips and like a incline curl, with heavy weight with no occlusion on it. And then I'll go to like an overhead extension and a overhead tricep extension and a hammer curl. And then I'll put the occlusion on that. And then my last exercise will be like a more isolation thing, where I'll do like the Nautilus one arm curl with the elbow up high, and then I'll superset that with cable push downs, and I'll use the occlusion training on that. So I do like my first exercise, heavy weight, high intensity, not force reps, but the drop set and all that stuff. Like I said, I do a set of 20, then a set of 15, then a set of 10, then a heavy drop set where I'm doing like 5, 5, 5 to get to 20. And then I'll do the occlusion training on the second two exercises. Some people say that they do like a lot of sets. That I never got anything out of that. So for me, it's like my whole arm workout. I'll superset biceps and triceps, and it's like 4, 6, basically 8 sets for each is the whole thing, the whole workout, 8 total sets. Yeah. So the first exercise is 4 sets, then 2 right into 2 heavy sets on the next exercise and 2 heavy sets on the third exercise. That's it.
Yeah, this subject's actually a big one for me. So when I first got started, my shoulders were naturally just really, really wide. They grew right away. My arms weren't small. My shoulders were just so dominant. So I started injecting my arms with a lot of my shots, especially like test propionate and Winstrol. And I'll go back into natural stuff too. But that made my arm grow a lot. A lot of people don't believe in site enhancement growth. I believe it 100%. And my arms caught up pretty quick, and I didn't really have to do anything. And then I know a lot of people, like a lot of my clients, most of them, they're training arms too much. They're doing arms like every 3 days or biceps every 3 days. I'm like, I did that before too when I first got started. Then when I cut back to just training arms once a week or once every 5 days, my arms like grew dramatically. So I either find people doing arms way too much, like you don't need that much training for arms. And then if you're going a step further than that, like, people, of course, use site enhancement in their site enhancement oil, like the original Synthol. Synthol, what people don't understand, that's just the brand name. All it is MCT oil. They put a little alcohol in there. And then some brands, they would put like lidocaine. My friend owns a company. We resell it on our site. It's not my product. It's called InstaSize, insta-size.com. It's like Synthol, but it doesn't sit in the muscle, and it's healthy for your muscle. What
do you mean it doesn't sit in the muscle?
Synthol would sit there a little longer. So
what does this do? You're saying it doesn't sit in the muscle. So what does it do?
It doesn't sit as muscle as long as a Synthol product would. So, and then it has other stuff added to it, like BC aminos in there, all the stuff like silicon. That's people use that with silicone. There's silicon, which is a natural substance, and there's silicone and a few other ingredients in there. And man, I'll have a client, they'll have week off. I won't do it for someone that's like brand new with training. Obviously, I want them to get the natural, like, their growth naturally. But if someone comes to me and they've been training for like 5 or 10 years, they can't get their arms to train, they'll put an inch on your arms within the first 3 months, like literally, and it looks good. It doesn't look weird and all that. I don't tell people to use it in their shoulders, because that's why everybody today has no lines in their shoulders, either from shooting them too much or using site enhancement oil. But certain body parts you can do is like bicep, triceps, calves, and your outer quad sweep. Like a bunch of them do. And I've helped some guys, some of the top guys too. I'll tell you after the show certain names, but do their outer quads. And that makes a huge difference too. But that's somebody, if you're on a higher level, it's, to do that, not some just regular gym goer. Get the most out of your arm growth and then go from there. But
so here's my take on site injections with oil, because I've done it. And number one, you're not growing any muscle from that. All you're doing is you're like filling the muscle full of oil. So you're expanding it out. So yeah, you're making it bigger because it's full of oil. What I found the problem is you can't train heavy on your arms with the oil in there, because if you do, the oil will literally leak out in between the muscle fibers and be under the skin. And I know because I did this before.
What did you shoot?
It was that, that pump and pose crap.
Oh yeah, this is that stuff deteriorates the muscle over time.
Well, like I said, I got my arms to like 21 inches with that. It looked good for a few weeks, but I always like to train heavy, and you can't. That's why you see these bodybuilders like doing this pumping shit with a rope, because you can't train heavy with it if you got that in there, because it'll literally leak out of the muscle underneath the skin, and then you'll have like oil in between the muscle and the skin. And you could see it, like it blurs out all the definition. That's why these guys that like their arms are like big and like inflated, but there's no, you can't see a striation or any separation or nothing in there.
Yeah,
and
this one doesn't do that at all, because that's the old synthol.
Well, it will eventually, and then the problem is when you stop doing it, the oil eventually, absorbs back into your system. So think of it like you have a balloon and you blow it up full of water and then it deflates. Well, that's what happens to your muscle. You blow it up and then it deflates, and you literally like have a saggy bicep. Like it takes a while to come back too. Instead of it being like, full of glycogen, because I think it actually kills muscle tissue. So
the original synthol does. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's stopping the blood circulation to there, because it's just full of oil. And the only way to keep that is if you just keep injecting your arms with oil, like indefinitely. And I don't know. I don't want to keep it.
Dexter was like that. He, Painless Pumps, the owner of Painless Pumps, while he was alive, he's like, Dexter orders nonstop from me. He can't go without it, or his own arms go flat.
And you see how he trains, he like little light weights and just pumping. Because
you put a lot of volume in there, you're not going to be able to lift that much, because you have so much volume already in there. The arm growth and quad growth, I mean, my friend's been doing the synthol. There are other couple brands out there. It's all the same, and they do different stuff. I mean, you don't know where it's even coming. They could be making it at their house, but I stand behind the Instasize. I've used it with a few years on my clients and other people, girls' glutes. Like it works extremely well. Here's the next question. I'll answer the end of this one. Question, Larry, his thoughts on Brent's style of training. People think it's train high volume. Seems like he worked 1 to 2 heavy sets. They do that a lot for the video, because I've worked out right next to Branch Warren for years. He does a lot more sets than that. But go ahead, Larry. They just do that.
Are they talking about his form or how? I don't know. I think they're talking about his form.
Style of training, I guess.
Yeah, I think they're talking about his form. He just like kind of like short reps and like really fast and a lot of ballistic movements.
Well, they said people think he trained high volume, but looking at his videos, it looks like he trained up to only 1 to 2 heavy all-out sets followed by drops.
That's probably correct. The way
Branch trained, however, he didn't really follow.
I'm saying with the intensity that he trains at, I doubt if he did a whole lot of working sets.
No, I mean,
but as far as
it worked for Branch, but a lot of people at Metroflex try to copy him, and they get hurt all the time.
Well, that's what I was going to say. The form, like, I think it works as far as like Bertil Fox trains sort of like that, not quite the same, but really like ballistic. And I think it works as far as like building muscle. But the problem is, like, yeah, unless you got like steel tendons, you're almost for sure going to get an injury. How he doesn't get injured, I don't know. But
yeah,
I think a little bit of cheating is okay, but that much cheating, I think you're just looking for an injury.
It worked for him. I think, a lot of people remember they get in like a certain rhythm too, like him and Johnny. They just get like the certain rhythm too, where they're throwing their body and curling or doing whatever at the same time. Branch and Johnny, like, I don't think they've ever even tore anything. I grew up, at Metroflex with them, but
again, if you can master that technique and do it in such a way that you're not hurting yourself, then I'm sure it's fine. But most people probably can't do that. Try to copy what they do without hurting themselves.
Yeah, like Martin Fitzwater, when he lived over here for a while, we trained together several times, and he said, when he was training with Branch injured him on quad, so he stopped training with him. So, I mean, most people, that kind of training is going to hurt. I remember when we did the documentary on Metroflex, they're like, why don't you throw your weights down real hard and scream and like do the reps like them? I go, that's just not how I train. I go, that's how they train. This is how I train.
Well, first of all, and like in my gym, if you throw the fucking weights on the floor, I'm going to kick you out.
It's stupid.
Like, what are you trying to do? You're just trying to like make a scene and break the weights and break the bars. Like, there's no reason for that.
They're like, they'll just get it and they're just like, or when you deadlift, I can't stand people deadlift. And I get it if you're doing a powerlifting meet and you get some crazy lift, how they throw it down real hard. But people are doing that with like curls and like throwing them on the ground.
Yeah, but
and I'm
even deadlifts, like you can put the bar down. I've seen people, they deadlift. This one guy I trained with one time, he wasn't even that strong. I think it was like 600-pound deadlifter. He'd get it at the top and he'd throw it to make, because he wanted to make a lot of noise when it hit the ground so everybody would look. And that you're gonna bend up the bars like that. It's just no reason for that.
Well, you're a gym owner, so all the day. These weights, people think weights are not breakable. These weights break.
Well, not only that, I like Texas power bars. It costs $500-600, and I don't want my bars all mangled and bent out of shape because some idiot's throwing them on the floor, like unnecessary. Like, sure, you're not gonna put 600 pounds down like little, and it's not gonna and not make any noise. That's why we have deadlift platforms. But you don't have to throw it from the fucking top. You can put it down still.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll go back and forth with questions. Last time we missed a lot of good ones, but we're going to talk today about like metabolism and dieting and training for kind of like what your metabolism is. I know our metabolisms are pretty similar. I burn really fast. Like I used to prep like 6 weeks for a show. I would start taking my gear further out, but I would only start dieting really around like 6 weeks out. And then I have to eat a lot of like, I know you can't because you're Crohn's, but I have to eat a lot of like burger and fries like every other day.
Well, I used to before I had the Crohn's. I used to eat like In-N-Out burger like all the time. And I was shredded.
Do you just eat more clean food now, or it's kind of hard?
Yeah,
right?
I just can't eat I can't eat gluten. So the fast food's just out for me now. So I just eat like rice and meat and stuff like that and vegetables. But yeah, there was a time when I was eating In-N-Out burger like almost every day and I was shredded, like getting ready for show.
Were you taking growth hormone at the time?
Yeah. But like my metabolism is crazy. Like I just don't gain body fat. My body fat's been like 5% since as long as I can remember. My first show I did at 16, I was already ripped, and like 18, I won the USA. I had cross striations in my quads before anybody had cross striations in their quads because I was just that way. Yeah. And even when I tried to bulk up and gain weight, like I'm always just lean. and I don't do a ton of cardio. There was a time when I was young, I did cardio for shows, but now if I do cardio, it just eats me up.
Oh yeah, I can't do I don't do cardio for shows. It'll burn muscle. I remember when I was with Hani, I told him he put cardio on there. I was like, bro, I can't. Like, I'll burn muscle. He was like, oh, come on. I'm like, bro, I know my body. I've been bodybuilding a long time. I was like, all right, I'll do the cardio for a week. And then I sent pictures like, oh my gosh, dude, you're like, I was like, dude, I'll look skinny in a few days if I do.
There was one show I did. It was a Masters North America, and I did the qualifier the week before. I was already like shredded big. I think I weighed in like 215, and I decided, this next week I'm going to get like extra ripped, which was stupid because I was already shredded. Like what more fat am I going to lose? Right. So I took my clenbuterol in the morning and I went for a 30-minute walk on the beach. That was my cardio. In that week, I dropped 17 pounds.
Yeah.
And I was so flat. I couldn't even carb up when I got there. I was so depleted and flat. Like,
it's rare, I think, because over the years prepping so many clients, there's very few people with a crazy metabolism like that. Most people are, have a slower metabolism. It's rare. I mean, Dave has an insane metabolism. He always ate, a lot of junk food, and I haven't really noticed it slowed down much since I've got older. When people ask me like, dude, are you like not like I'm like, dude, I eat a burger and fries every day. I eat like a gyro every day. I eat ice cream at night. That's why when I just recently dropped down I went to 285 to about 260, and like, oh my God, I'm like, dude, I literally just ate clean for like a month and a half, and I still ate junk food like every few days. And some people like, I know when we were getting big, I know I had to eat an ungodly amount of food, and it was miserable. But I think I
have to eat like nonstop.
But even that's now, a better option.
Even now, just to hold weight, I have to eat, like force myself to eat like every meal. I'm not hungry. I just force myself to eat anyways.
I think that's a better option than being hungry, because when most people are hungry, they're in a horrible mood. So just think about walking around hungry all the time. I'd rather force feed than have to have done some people that have to do like 3 hours of cardio a day. I'm like, I wouldn't even bodybuild if I had to do 3 hours of cardio a day. That's crazy to find 3 hours in the day to do cardio. And I've only had maybe 3 or 4 clients ever that had to do that much. And they really had it. I know didn't Mike Matazzaro do like close to 4 or something like that?
Well, I can just tell you like this. Okay. Some people need to do cardio to drop weight. But I know people that are doing like 2 hours of cardio before show, but they're also cheating on their diet.
Yeah.
So they're eating a bunch of shit, which is kind of part of the reason why they got to do 2 hours of cardio. Like,
and it doesn't
I've had people. So there's like, the 3 types that I don't really believe there's 3 types, but everybody's sort of more of one of the mesomorph, endomorph, ectomorph, or endomorph. So the mesomorph is like the most more muscular build naturally, more muscle. And the more muscle you carry, the more calories you burn just walking around. So you can eat more food. And then you have the ectomorph, which is like super skinny. And the endomorph is fat. And everybody's like not one of those things, but probably a mix between that. So whatever you have, I've had some people where like I literally put them on keto and cardio and training their ass off, and they didn't lose any muscle. And in a way, it's almost kind of better. They do get fatter in the off season, but man, they don't lose muscle when they diet. Like if I diet like that, I would just disappear. I'd burn muscle like crazy. But these people, they can just eat a lot of food, very little food at all, like almost no carbs, and do like 2 hours of cardio, and they don't lose any muscle. And I know
keep that fullness like too. That crazy fullness. A lot of black guys keep, no matter how much you get down on calories and you're supposed to be flat, they still have those like full round muscles. And I was always so jealous of that. Even though I got hard easily, it was always so hard for me to get. I was never really full, like super full at one of my shows. I always would just like be full, like backstage, and after a little posing, just go flat.
So let's talk about what regulates your metabolism. And one of the main things that regulates your metabolism is thyroid. And also taking anabolics will like make you produce less thyroid. So I take T4, 175 micrograms per day, and it's a prescription. And that T4 puts me right at the perfect levels, optimal levels of my TSH, T4, and T3. And we did a lot of blood work to figure out this dosage over many years. Yeah. And the 175 micrograms put me right at T4. And the T4 works synergistically with the growth hormone. And if you take T4 with a GH, it'll put the right amount of T3 out that your body needs for, as it needs it. Now, some people take T3, which is straight thyroid. The problem with T3 is, T3 literally eats muscle tissue. Yeah, it just burns everything. It burns calories, it burns fat, it burns muscle. So if your T3 is too high, you'll like burn muscle for energy. So I don't really.
A lot of people don't know that, and they're taking it and they just burn. I'm like, dude, that if you need it, you need it. And some people, it has a time and place, but a lot of coaches give that to people in the off season too. And I'm totally against giving that to someone in the off season. There's no reason you should take T3, like unless you have a thyroid condition or something, T3 or T4. Like there's no reason.
Even if you have a thyroid condition, most people don't need T3. You can take T4, and your body will convert the proper amount to the amount of T3 that you need. So usually people overdose on the T3 and they just burn a lot of muscle. Other things that like speed up your metabolism, obviously anabolics will speed up your metabolism, and some more than others. Tren speeds up your metabolism just because you're like wired or something. It's almost like you're on crack. But that speeds up your metabolism. I don't take any stimulants at all, like none. Like my pre-workout consists of 200 milligrams of caffeine in my pre-workout. Because if I take, like that, I used to take that high stim stuff. What was it called? It was almost like speed, DMMA or something. What is it called?
Yeah. And DMA. Yeah.
Yeah. And I took that and I trained like a crazy person, but now that'll just set off my Crohn. So like I found out that
it burns muscle too.
Yeah, exactly. I can train just as hard. My pre-workout is like more of a pump. I have a pump thing, and then it's like a nootropic thing, and it only has 200 milligrams of caffeine. That's it. That's the only stimulant I take. And the only time I take caffeine is pre-workout 4 times a week. I never drink coffee or any caffeine any other time.
See, I don't even like, if I drink a coffee, I still like don't feel good. I don't like any sort of stimulant at all. And most people do, even though like our old product line, we had a high stim pre-workout. We had to discontinue it because it had DMAA in it. So that became illegal. But then with our new line, we're coming out with a high stim one, but I'm not a fan of high stim. I'm only making it because people want it, because I usually tell my clients like, hey, take it like twice a week. Don't get used to taking it every day, because then when you don't have it, you won't be able to train. And even though you feel like you're training more efficient because you're so amped up, it doesn't mean that you are at all.
You can actually get overstimulated, and then your training is less efficient. You're not able to lift as much weight, and you're not as focused because you're like too amped up. You're overly wired. And then you think you're training hard because you're all like wired out of your mind, but really you can't focus and you can't lift as much weight.
It's catabolic. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, the new one we're coming out with, it's absolutely crazy. I took a dose one day. I'm like, oh my, like, I feel like I'm on some crazy drug. Like I've never smoked meth, but I'm like, if this is what I picture smoking meth, but other people love it. And like, I need to send you out. We haven't got our other shipment in yet, but the pump products we have now, it has 0 stimulant in it at all. And it's just pump. People don't understand, a vasodilator, like a pump product, and a vasoconstrictor, like a stimulant, those work against each other. So if you're taking a pump product,
Right.
that has a high stimulant in there, it's taking away from that vasodilation of the pump. So it counteracts each other. So I tell people, if you can train, if I understand, like some people have demanding jobs or they get off and they literally can't train without it. I understand that. But if you don't have to, I wouldn't use any stimulant at all. And we're selling a stimulant product, but I wouldn't use it at all if you don't have to.
Well, I sell it.
Like
I
Larry
carry it
said,
in my
like,
gym just because the young people, they want it, but like I don't recommend it and I don't take it either. What I do take pre-workout is I'll take 2 units of GH and 5 units of Humalog, along with my BCP 157 TB500. And I do that and I sip my intra-workout drink with its aminos and carbs. The branch cyclic dextrins, I drink that like with some minerals, and I drink that through the workout, and I get a crazy pump from that. And my energy is really good too. Okay,
so the question is it possible to get newbie gains after you take a long from lifting? I'll start this. Newbie gains, well, you have to get back to your current state first. I mean, muscle memory, like I know when I'm out, when I went out, I didn't train at all for 2 years. It took me about 6 months to get back to my normal size. So that comes back. You have to get that back first, and then you can make gains. I'm not sure what you mean by newbie gains after you take a long break. You can always make gains, but you have to get back to the size you were currently.
Yeah, you get to your current size back really fast for muscle memory, but then once you get it back, then you're starting there pretty much.
Yeah. So if you're trying to grow, I mean, like, when I take breaks, like I'll usually take a month off every year just because I'm like burnt out and like you know, my tendonitis in my arm. And by the way, like I got the roller stuff, like of the
Capsaicin.
So I didn't think I rolled on that much. I was like, all right, I rolled on here, roll on my triceps. And I got to the gym, dude. I was in living hell. It got all in my armpits. It got all in my armpits, and my forearms hurt so bad I couldn't even. Every time I put my arm like this together, I was in the bathroom like using soap and water, washing my armpits. People were like, "What the fuck is he? Why is he going to just go take a shower?" I was washing. I was like, "Oh my gosh!" I was telling my wife like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so messed up." And I guess the roller's concentrated, but because I use like the icy hot.
Yeah, the problem with the roller is that too much liquid comes out, and there's too much capsaicin on you.
Bro,
like,
it's been like
if you're gonna use capsaicin,
years,
I take like a little dab on my finger, like a pin drop, and then I rub that all into my shoulder, and then I take another pin drop and I'll like rub that all over my lower back, like a pin drop. If you put too much on there, you will be burning up.
I was used to the icy hot roller, and I used it that way. And no, I mean, it wasn't just pain. I was like,
you were like bright red, right? Your skin was red.
I was losing my mind, and my wife's like, "Baby," I was like, "No, I'm not okay." Oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. I just kept going to the bathroom and watching. I was like, "I don't know what to do." Oh fuck, I don't know what to do. I had some Xanax in my bag. I popped like 2 of those, and dude, I eventually, when I got home, it was probably because I was like, let's just go to the grocery store afterwards because I don't want to go all the way home and have to go. So as soon as I got home, it was finally like cooling off. It was like after 2 hours or so. But next time, dude, that roller, I don't know who uses a roller because it comes out.
No, pretty, dude, I never use the roller. You got to get the cream and just a pin drop on your finger. That's it. Any more than that, you're going to be hating life.
I was like, oh, here's a cream. My wife's like, oh, here's a roller. That'll be better. And I got that still. No. No. But if I got the cream, I think I would have put too much on too because I usually use the other creams that you have to put water on.
This is way strong. You can't. Yeah. You got to learn like a little pin drop, like a little dab on your finger. That maybe like the size of a pea is enough. Do Crohn's? Yeah. So I would say like if I took something like Trenbolone, that would make my Crohn's worse just because it like raises your anxiety. And for some reason, like if you're more anxious, that makes your Crohn's worse. But like Nandrolone actually seems to make my Crohn's better. Like I digest my food better and I just like less inflammation. So it depends on what you're taking. My current cycle, I told this already. I'm taking 200 milligrams Test E and 200 milligrams chest probe and 200 milligrams MPP every week. That's what I'm taking.
People, I get that asked all the time. And, you know, your cycle changes constantly, right? It's a cycle. So when I was on just TRT, I did that for like 4 years. And then, you know, at the time, someone was like, what are you taking? I'm like, TRT. People will literally make up stories today and say, oh, Armon only takes TRT. I'm like, I said that when I was on TRT, and then I got off TRT. Then I usually do higher tests. So if I'm my TRT dose, I usually won't go below 400 milligrams a test anymore. If I do 200, I did that for a while. I'll do that usually in the winter, and then when I'm not in the winter, I'll do more. And I just started a couple new compounds a month and a half ago. The first time I've taken them like 8 to 10 years, and I really, you know, responded well, extremely well. I knew I would, but I was like around like week 3 or 4, it was like boom, all of a sudden, like overnight. So yeah, but our cycles are going to change constantly. You know, I know you kind of like, do you go up and down much? You kind of stay?
No, I kind of stay the same. I'm not trying to compete or do anything. Look, if I can maintain my size and strength right now the way it is, I'm happy with that. Like, I'm just trying to hold on to what I got at this point. You know, I'm not trying to break records anymore, because, you know, if I maintain my size and strength, I'm good. Like last night I went in and did chest. I don't know why, but my strength was freaking up there. Whereas, you know, I had a kidney stone a couple months ago. No, but it's like 4 months ago, I think. And that really messed me up. And like, I don't know why, but the whole going through it kind of like kicked my Crohn's in, made me get my Crohn's flared up. And I was like having a hard time like gaining weight. And my strength was just not where it was before that happened. And finally, like, it's finally got back to where it was. And I feel like my metabolism is back and I'm eating better. So, but no, I'm not taking anything extra, nothing different.
People think everybody that's in shape is on trend. Like, dude, I remember I haven't taken trend in like 10 years, but when I used to take trend, I mean, I would immediately start getting sick to my stomach all the time. It's hard on your system. And literally people take it year round now. I mean, people say, yeah, I've been on trend 3 years straight, and they usually look terrible. People understand your body can be so toxic that it's not utilizing the steroids because your liver or kidneys are not okay and they're not healthy. But
there's a guy that I met. He used to be I'm not going to say who it is, but he used to be one of those American Gladiator guys. And he told me all he takes is trend, and he's been on it for like 20 years. He doesn't even look like he works out.
They never do. That's the thing. That's what I was saying. Like, I think they're toxic and they're not utilizing their food and other things as well, because everybody I know that stayed on long term, they literally look hard, like they hardly even train. I know Nathan DeAsher said it. I'm not sure if he was kidding or not, but he said he takes trend year round, but I'm not sure if he was kidding.
I mean, when I was younger, I could do it. Not in high dosages though, but you know, I
took a long break from lifting, then again, just started dumbbells at home casually, and I felt like I get more gains, and I'm not dedicated to it. But you're not dedicated.
You're just a lazy fucker. That's all. That's all I can say.
If you went to the gym and busted your ass with a full gym equipment, you're going to make more gains. You probably just, yeah, that's lazy. You're not caring. That makes no sense. So trust me, if you get a gym membership and go at least 3 to 4 days a week, you're going to make way better gains.
Yeah, I guess you have better equipment to use.
Overtraining at the gym. If you were overtraining, maybe that's one thing.
Tell this guy send a picture. Let's see how great he looks with the lifting at home with the dumbbells only, casually.
No, I mean, I have dumbbells at my house. If I can't make it to the gym to do like shoulders or arms, I can do a workout here, a pretty good one. But no, dude, you got to like, how are you doing your compound movements like chest and back? I mean, you don't have heavy dumbbells at home like that. Like legs, you really can't train legs at home. What are you going to do? Like, wait, whatever. What's the worst thing you ever allegedly did in a roid rage?
Oh, I can answer that one. I allegedly attempted murder, attempted kidnapping, attempted assault, attempted all this shit. What I actually really did is I just kicked a door in. Someone took my car and I went to collect my car back from them. And when I got to the house, I was pretty jacked up, and I called them and I told them I'm here. I needed my car. And they thought it was funny. They were sitting there laughing. So I kicked the door in, and guess who showed up about 2 minutes later? The cops. I said, oh, the cops are here. We better go talk to them. So we went and talked to them, and they right away put me in cuffs. And first I was just charged with like breaking and entering or something like this. And I got like a $5,000 bond, and I bailed right out. It was like not going to be a big deal. But then it turns out one of the chicks that was there, her father was a head detective at West Valley Station. So the next time I went back to court, they put me in $2 million bail and started charging me with all this fucking crazy shit. Yep.
Yeah, man. The
So
guy
yeah,
says
be careful what you do, because like if you're a bodybuilder and you do anything, they're going to make it 10 times worse.
Oh, yeah.
Like I just saw the other day, like literally this happened in the street here in Ventura. It's like these 3 Mexican chicks get out of the car in the middle of the freaking intersection, and they're brawling in the intersection. Okay. And, you know, cops come and they don't do fucking shit. They gave them like citation and sent them away. If you're a bodybuilder and you get out of in the intersection and you start beating somebody and the cops come, trust me, you're getting charges. Yeah. They're going to charge you with attempted murder, all kinds of shit.
I think the guy was saying allegedly because he wanted to know like something horrible without us incriminating ourselves.
Well, I already got convicted of it, so I could talk about it.
Yeah, but you didn't really that wasn't anything that bad. I mean, you didn't like beat someone to like a
I didn't touch anybody. If I was attempting to do any of that shit, something would have happened. I mean, I was there for 2-3 minutes before the cops showed up, and no one had a scratch on them.
Yeah. I mean, I was fighting way more in my teenage years before I even started steroids. Once I started steroids, I was competing. So competing got me out of trouble. I mean, I was hanging out with one of my best friends at the time's older brother, which he was a hardcore gang member. And this was in high school. And we were doing, I mean, I didn't do drugs in high school like at all. So it was like a, you know, dopamine trip or whatever. And I did some really stupid things. Once I started bodybuilding and taking stuff, it actually calmed me down a lot and gave out that regimen. I worked, you know, routine I worked really good on. So I was never like on a big cycle and went crazy. But I've gotten like fights and stuff like roid rage over the years, but I stopped doing that a long time ago because you're going to get shot. I mean, Texas, you know, everybody carries here. So, you know, but one day with the cops driving too, I was driving. I just left to see my mom at the cemetery. And so this was like a year after she passed. So I was like in not a good state at all. And I was driving and this car pulls up next. And I had it wasn't a rental at the time. My car messed up and I just bought it at Jeep. So they gave me a Charger to drive. And so this car pulled next to me, 2 African-American guys in the front and a girl in the back. And they just start flipping me off for no reason, just like going like that. I'm just like, just keep driving. Just like, you know, who cares? And so 75 is the main highway here. Literally 10 minutes down the highway, they were still next to me messing with me. I mean, literally 10 minutes. And so, okay. So, and then I rolled down my window, and then because the window was they saw how big I was, and I'm like screaming, telling them to pull over. So they start like to pull over. No. They tried to get away. That's how they did. They exited like trying to get away from me. I just wasn't thinking at the time. I slammed my car into theirs, like on the highway. And the guy's eyes were like, when I hit him, he was like his eyes, they were like, oh my gosh, this guy's nuts. And so I was like, oh, fuck, what'd I do? So I'm telling them to pull over at the gas station because at that point I'm already worried about, getting in trouble. And so I pull over, they won't get out of the car. And I'm telling because I'm just like, okay, let's just trade information. I'm just going to play like this is a hit and run. I mean, not hit and run, like it's a mutual accident. They won't get out of the car. So I go up to the car, start walking. He's videotaping me like this in his car. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, get out. Let's exchange information, whatever. He won't get out. So I eventually just get in my car and like, what am I going to do? I just eventually start driving off. And so then I see him on the phone, like in my rearview mirror. I'm like, this dude's calling the cops. So I called the cops and I said, listen, I was just in a little fender bender. The guy won't get out of his car. They're like, where are you now? I was like, I'm driving. Like they wouldn't get out. And so they got alerted first with their call. So they're looking for a hit and run. They said, they gave a description of me, like, 270 pound, whatever, 60 pound bodybuilder or whatever. So finally the cops got behind me within like 5 minutes. They found my car, the area, and they're like, hands out the window, this, unlock the door from the outside, face down on the ground, hands behind you. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then they don't even know what's about. I'm like yelling to them. I just made a call about this, like literally like check the call center or whatever. So they come up and they handcuff me and they're like, it's always you bodybuilders and martial artists that are always getting to it. I'm like, what does that have to do anything? Martial artist? How does that even coincide with a bodybuilder? And so, eventually they unhandcuffed me, got both our stories, and, I didn't get in trouble, but if they knew what I did, like I intentionally hit them, yeah, probably, would have gotten really bad trouble. But I don't think I was even on anything right then because I wasn't. I just broke, I just lost my mom a year prior and I was just not in a good state of mind. But I already know this one. Go ahead, Larry.
Yeah, we all got busted because of what was it called? Hush mail out of Canada. That's how Raw Deal went down. Everybody at that time was using this web server called Hushmail out of Canada, and it was supposedly encrypted email. And they said that it was all out of Canada, and it was encrypted, and no one could see what you were doing. So like everybody was like on that, doing like business like normal. And then the U.S. just went and subpoenaed Hushmail and got everybody's everything. That's how they busted everybody during Raw Deal. They knew everybody's everything because they got it all. They had everybody's emails. That simple. So if you think that they can't see what you're doing on the dark web, if they're looking to see what you're doing, they can see what you're doing if they want to.
They get a warrant and they can get on your computer and they can usually watch your computer. I was watching it just came out on Netflix, like Worst Roommates Ever. And this was one about this guy that killed this girl, and they got a warrant to watch him. They were watching him on his computer and everything. I mean, so people think if they're watching you, they know what you're doing. They know all your friends.
They can get on your cell phone too and follow you all around. And all these people that have like these little apps, they think that they can't see what you're doing on your app. They can see. If they want to see, if they can get in your phone. They get on your phone without you even knowing it and look at everything that you're doing.
I never sold stuff. That was for Larry. I would get stuff for friends here and there, but I don't even do that anymore. It's not worth it. I get stuff. The clinic I use, they can prescribe 5 different compounds. So, I mean, other than like, it's not worth getting anybody anything. You help someone out, and if they get caught, they're gonna rat on you. You know what I mean? So, a bodybuilding cycle, they're gonna consider that distributing. You know what I mean? If you help somebody for the show and you get them the full cycle, they're like, okay, this guy's selling on a big time level. They don't understand, it's not like a couple bottles you take. It's a large amount people take for. What do you guys think of Primo?
Once upon a time, I liked it. Now I can't use it. Any DHTs, they just dry my joints out immediately, and I'm just like a wreck. Yeah. Any DHT of any kind, I can't do it. Winstrol, Primo, Masteron, none of that. Like, my joints hurt so bad I can't even train.
I'm the same way. My joints hurt really bad on the same compounds, but the look, Primo is literally like it's one of the weaker ones. But if you can get real Primo, a lot of times people, the Bayer ones, I was getting those amps for a while back in the day, and they worked. And I know people.
Hey,
now,
there was a time when I was younger, I took like 900 milligrams of Primo along top of everything else, and I grew and I was strong. But now, if I even take a shot of Primo, my everything's hurting.
Make sure you're taking real Primo too. I mean, most Primo out there is
it's
not
real because everything.
No, I know yours was, but everybody that hires me for coaching, I'm always like, at least test your Primo. If you're going to be cheap with it, I would say 95% of them, it's always fake. It's like Test Pro or usually Test Pro,
Masteron or something like that.
Have you guys ever coached clients don't convert to estrogen a lot, don't need AIs, just a little amount of DHTs in there? Yep.
Right now I have a guy, I'm prepping for a show, and he's like, I hate taking anti-estrogen. I don't want to take anti-estrogen. And I'm like, well, your blood work's going to determine whether you need anti-estrogen or not. And I can tell you right now, he's running TESS, EQ, Anavar, and Turnabol. That's what he's running. And we tested his with the estrogen sensitive, and it's like 20, and then with no AI. So, and he's dry, so he doesn't need an anti-estrogen. There's no reason for it. I might throw it in like the week before the show just to dry him out a little bit more. Yeah. But really, like if your estrogen is low, then you don't need it. On the other hand, if you get your estrogen tested and it's like 100 plus, then yeah, you need something.
I tell people always get tested because I convert easily, but my estrogen was 7 before. I was on testosterone, Primo, Masteron, and EQ, and my estrogen was like 6 or 7 with no AIs whatsoever.
Well, the Masteron and EQ supposedly act like an anti-estrogen.
I believe they do. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, like I said, this guy's on TESS, EQ, Anavar, and Turnabol, and his estrogen's super low, and so he doesn't need it.
Everybody converts differently. I think, of course, before your show, you want to kind of kill your estrogen, right? So I know some of these guys today, it's crazy what they do. Like I would always just, at the end, I would take a Arimidex. Even Femara was maybe a little more flat, but these guys today, they'll do like a couple Arimidex, couple Femaras, Nolvadex. It's crazy how much. I saw that on one person's cycle.
Unless you have like super high estrogen, that makes no sense at all. I mean, 0 is 0. So if your estrogen is like whatever it is, and you make it 0, you can't go under 0. So taking more anti-estrogen is not going to like push it -4.
I think that's why Nick got injured so easily, because they use. With that guy with his clients, they use tons of antis. That's what they do. But yeah, it's not. There's no point. It's just going to hurt your higher injury. Higher risk for injury. Thanks for the questions. I'll answer the questions. Wanted to ask about growth hormone. A lot of you guys, like John Cena and PJ Braun, that did a lot of GH, now have stopped. Always look strange. Are you calling us strange looking? It's like,
I don't know. I've been using GH for freaking forever.
Yeah.
Not at high doses.
If you go over a certain amount, it can change. I don't know. John Cena, PJ Braun, I don't think they look weird. What makes them look weird?
Who knows?
They look fine to me, but that doesn't make any sense. If you're taking like over 10 IUs for prolonged periods of time, yeah, you can get some head growth and jaw growth and all that. But those two guys you just mentioned, I don't notice that at all. So, I mean, you can get like an acromegaly look, someone that's, has acromegaly, but those two guys look perfectly fine. So people have to understand, people age, people look differently. So if they're taking growth hormone or not, you're going to look different at 40 than 20, or at 60 than 40, you know, so that doesn't make sense. Thoughts on adding a little buffalo sauce to chicken breast for flavor, high in sodium? I think it's fine unless you're prepping for a show towards the end.
Even if you're prepping for a show, what does it matter if you take high sodium? I don't know what's in buffalo sauce, but if there's no sugar in it, it's just high sodium, it's fine.
Yeah.
I actually have people use that Walden Farm dressing before show because it's like 0 calorie. It's just flavor. It's just like, I don't know, it's a bunch of chemicals. I don't know how they make it. It tastes like amazing, but there's no calories in it. But it's high sodium. But so what if it's high sodium? There's nothing wrong with sodium before contest.
A lot of people used to, like when I first started competing in 2002, a lot of the people like Vicky Gates, Ronnie Coleman's wife, she was prepping a lot of people. And every client that I got from her, they were on 0 sodium. I'm like, why aren't you doing sodium? They're like, I don't know, Vicky, I'm like, you're doing a whole contest prep muscle without like such an important thing that makes your muscles contract. That makes no sense at all. And it was just like a thing that they did around here. Like all these people were doing. I was like, that makes no sense.
My first coach did that to me when I was 16. It was like, eat off of paper plates. We had to drink distilled water, use plastic utensils because God forbid you get any salt in you. But here's how it works. You have a hormone called aldosterone. Aldosterone regulates your sodium levels. If you take a lot of sodium, your aldosterone goes low, and then you piss out the extra salt. If you take no sodium, your aldosterone goes high, and you hold on to every little bit of salt you get. So here's where people get confused. So if you go like really low sodium for a long time, and you have a high aldosterone, then guess what happens if you take a little bit of salt? Well, your body holds on to every little bit of it, and instead of excreting it, you hold that along with the water that it holds. But if you're normally taking a normal amount of sodium, or even a high amount of sodium, and your body's used to that, and your aldosterone is low, you're just going to piss out the extra salts. It's not going to hurt you.
Yeah.
I actually put Himalayan pink salt, like a teaspoon, and I have this other salt that I just got. It's like a more natural salt. It's a kind of sea salt, and it's like higher in minerals. I forgot the name of it. Celtic, yeah. And I put a teaspoon of that and a teaspoon of Himalayan pink salt in a gallon, along with my aminos. And I put that aminos, one emergency pack, whole protein scooper of glutamine, creatine, and what that other stuff for testosterone. What is it called? And another supplement. Anyways, I put it all in there, and I mix up in one of those Stan Efferding coolers. It holds about 1.5 gallons, and I just make that every day, and I just drink it. Oh, and I use those flavor packets that are made with stevia. What are they called? True Lime, because I don't like the aspartame. So I use the ones that made with stevia from True Lime, and I just put those in there, and I just drink that like all day long. And that's I literally drink 1.5 gallons to 2 gallons a day just to stay hydrated.
Yeah. You need sodium. The only time you need to watch your sodium if your blood pressure's high. You can't, mine got a little high several months ago because
if your blood pressure is high from sodium, that means your kidneys are not excreting the salt, so you got a kidney problem.
No, my kidneys are perfect. I got my checkups are my kidneys.
Yeah, but your blood pressure doesn't get high for no reason. Your blood pressure.
Yeah, I was eating a lot of sodium. I was doing
and your kidneys you're not excreting it because your kidneys are not like working 100%. If that's happening,
well, it's fine now. I'm back. I stopped eating that way, and it went back to normal. This is continuation from earlier question. They age. Like I said, everybody ages. So you're looking at retired bodybuilders. So GH changed the shape of the bone structure. Then when they stopped the anabolic steroids, so you're talking about steroids or growth hormone. Okay. The muscle isn't as big and they look like their limbs are out of proportion with their body, or I'm imagining it. You're just people obviously when they retire from bodybuilding, their muscles get smaller. They're not eating 7 meals a day. They're not taking pro level cycles. You're going to get smaller. So the bones are going to look different because you lose, let's say your arms are 20 inches and they get down to, 16. Things are going to look different. Your face is going to look different if you're not carrying much fluid or whatever. I mean, That's common sense. Like if you're pushing like, like I said, like 15, 20 IUs of GH a day, like a lot of the guys are today, you can see dramatic changes in facial structure. And yes, it will make your bones grow. A lot of people's feet grow. Two of my good friends, their feet grew from taking 15 IUs a day for a couple years. But one went from 9 to an 11, one went from 11 to 13. So besides that, you age. I don't know how old you are, but once you age, your body is going to look different. And when you lose muscle, especially bodybuilders, you're going to look a lot different. I mean, they go from being huge, and even if they still stay in shape, like Dave, he was like almost 300 pounds, like pretty ripped. I think he's like 220 now or something. And people like give him shit. Like, you're going to look different at 220 versus 300. So it has not anything to do with aging. It has to do with your body weight. So yeah, you are imagining. I think GH is the cause of a lot of bodybuilders' deaths. 70s, 80s live long, but 90s guys, I don't think it's GH.
I think that's bullshit. Like, yeah, if you take 10 units a day or some stupid thing, I take 2 units 4 days a week before training. So I don't think that causes me any problem. And sometimes I take it in the middle of the night, 1 unit.
Yeah, I don't think it's that. I think the guys aren't getting off and they're staying on massive amounts year round. You have to take breaks. When I say break, yeah, you can still stay on your TRT, but that's like what I used to do. I know, but guys, they don't break. Like when I talk to a lot of younger competitors or non-competitors, just work out. When I tell them you need to take off, they're like, well, you didn't take off. I'm like, man, I used to take off 3 months at least after every show from everything. And then I got to a certain age where my tests wouldn't come back at all. Then I started on TRT. I think they're just staying on a large amount of everything year round, and they're not taking breaks. And then once you get to the diuretic use, that's a whole other story.
And as far as, it's not this GH, they're taking lots of everything, like high dosages of everything, of gear, like anabolics, everything. So it's not just a growth hormone, no. If you do take a lot of growth hormone, though, like too much, it can raise your blood sugar and it'll cause you to become a diabetic.
Yeah, so you have to check your fasting blood glucose. That's important. And that's why a lot of people take insulin, because for their blood sugars. They're not taking it like, oh, I want to get huge, because their, growth hormone will raise your blood sugars. The insulin helps, control that. So
the answer to that silly question, did I pray to God? Yeah, of course I did, because I've always been religious since I was a kid, and I believe in God. Did I pray? I didn't sit there and say, God, please save me from getting murdered. No, I didn't do that. But I kind of thought that, yeah.
And then I know a lot of people that go to prison that, maybe they go in not believing once they go in, but once you're in like a little cell, like my friends have been in, that's all you have to think about is, all you have to do is think. You start thinking a lot more than you were on the outside, just doing whatever, partying, hanging out. So it makes you really think like, why am I in here? I'm in here just locked up. And especially those guys doing life. A lot of those guys doing life, there's certain programs in our church. We used to do reach outs and, Bible, donate Bibles for all those guys. A lot of them in there for life. And they're like, okay, I'm spending the rest of life in here. And they want more answers because they're not out here on the streets. And so, there's more to life than just this life. So the DMA is crazy. Workouts are wild, but that stuff made my hormone disappear since it's such high stim. The old Jack pre-workout was like that. And it shouldn't have an effect on your erections, but maybe it did too.
Yeah, you can do that. Some people can produce too much cortisol.
Yeah. Cortisol, like I said, like if you're taking tons of stims,
yeah,
that's going to burn muscle. Yeah, it's going to burn muscle.
No, I've never smoked meth.
No. Sorry there. Yep, that's the whole point. I don't know why people aren't I don't understand why all these people do podcasts and they just lie on there. Like, I mean, I'm not naming certain people. There's podcasts that people just straight up lie about everything, and I think that's
some people
weird.
go through life. Some people go through life. They just lie about everything for no good reason. They just can't tell the truth about anything. So.
Yeah. People, there's a lot of weird people. They just lie about everything. They don't even, I think they believe it all because it's like some of the stuff that I've dated girls like that and they lie and like, why are you even lying about that? That doesn't even make sense. Like, I don't even care. Like, people just lie nonstop and they live that way, and it's just a way they live to make themselves either look better or not get in trouble. It's really, really weird. I can't stand liars. So yeah. Realist dudes on YouTube, crazy stories with YouTube, and yeah. We haven't even gotten into probably the craziest stories, but we both live pretty different lifestyles. That guy's question popped up a lot. Do I think Cristiano Ronaldo is on PDs or doping? What do you think? So this is soccer. Ronaldo, he was like the most tested player. I forgot what year. They would literally like test him before the game or after the game. And he was like so fed up. He passed every test. Can testing be passed? I'm not sure exactly what they were using, but a lot of testing is extremely difficult because it tests metabolites. So if they are using PEDs, they're using stuff that's not detectable on whatever list they have. But I mean, he's only 39 years old. He's not a big guy, right? He's like 6'1", I think around like 190. He's just, I mean, he's in great. You got to understand this guy, he's obsessed with his physical like being. Like, this guy does everything possible to be the best athlete, in soccer. Like that, the guy's how he can jump so high and header. It's just insane.
Just to be real about this, like Lance Armstrong, he was like, how many gold medals and this and that until he finally got positive. So probably more people are on stuff than you even know in every sport. And that's why they're coming out with enhanced games now, where it's going to be like, people are going to be allowed to take stuff under doctor supervision and all this stuff, but they're going to be allowed to take stuff. So go figure.
I mean, soccer, of course, I mean, you don't need to be big, but yeah, anything's going to help performance. Players used to pop all the time, and it would be for stupid ones like DECA, like that stays in your system for a long time. So there's stuff out there that even probably we don't know about at a very high level the athletes are using for performance. So you guys have larger prostates, had a CT scan for something else, and I noticed it's slightly larger. Does finasteride help at all? Heard Tennis James say, I'll go first because I was just worried not too long ago. So about 4 months ago, I was having a lot of prostate pain. I was having trouble peeing. And when I would ejaculate, a lot of times blood would come out afterwards. And I'm like, and I'm typing the signs, and all the signs are for prostate cancer. I'm like, and that runs in my family. So I'm like, oh my gosh. So I make an appointment with the doctor. They do a scan, checks my prostate. He's like, you're fine. Like, let's just talk about some things that are going on and this and that. And apparently I was having sex for too long. So he was like, that's way too long to have sex. And what you're doing, all that, it's building up. And when you should already eject, he's like, why are you waiting so long? And it's like, are you like that? I'm like, yeah, I don't really just go fast, but I enjoy sex. I'm not one of those people who just want to bust and be done. Like, I enjoy sex, but that's all it was. I stopped doing that and I'm fine. But my prostate's okay. Like, I thought it was enlarged. She's like, no, it's fine. Finasteride I did take for 7 years, but that was for hair loss. And that blocks DHT, but it also blocks strength and muscle gain, because when I hired Hani, he's like, bro, you got to get off that stuff. It's messing with your gains. I got off, and this was for 6 years I was on finasteride. 5 milligrams is Proscar. So that's the Proscar. The finasteride, I believe, is 1 milligram. But yeah, it was blocking. When I got off, I gained a lot of strength, and that year my size went up dramatically. So I was taking too much, but it can, if your prostate or you are having issues, some people does need it. What about you?
So I never got actually tested it for being enlarged or whatever, but I did find that the androgens made it sometimes more difficult for me to pee. So I've been on like Tamsulosin HCl for years, and that makes it, I don't have any issues peeing or anything. And it's supposed to be
You
good
don't
for
get your prostate checked?
Huh? Yeah, I've got it checked. They didn't find anything, but still
okay.
the Tamsulosin HCl, then, I don't have any problem peeing.
A lot of people could take just like saw palmetto, something like that, natural stuff that can lower it, but not
Yeah, I
as
just have a
strong
script for it. It's what's the Tamsulosin HCl is the chemical name. There's an actual what is the name brand of that stuff? You know what I'm talking about?
Saw palmetto?
No, Tamsulosin HCl. It's a prescription. There's an actual because I used to make that stuff actually. Shoot, I'm trying to think of the name. There's a name brand of it. Well, anyways, long story short, there's a name brand made by Boehringer, the company that makes the name brand for the Tamsulosin HCl. And I actually made it when I was compounding my own Tamsulosin HCl tablets. And I just Flomax. That's it. Flomax. So anyways, I made it and I knew how to compound. So like I had little tablets and I know I dosed them correctly. I know 100%, but I sent my tablets to the testing center. We used to have a testing center. You could actually send all your gear to a real lab in Utah and they'd actually test it for not only what it was, but the strength and everything. So I sent that sample of the one that I made to there, and I didn't hear back from them for like a couple of weeks on this one. And they usually got back to me within like a week with my results. And I called them and I said, hey, what's up with this? And they're like, oh, we don't have anything to compare it against. We need a, what do you call it? Something to compare it against. So I went down to the pharmacy and I bought Flomax out of the pharmacy. And I sent that, I was in Mexico, so you can buy this stuff like in the pharmacy over the counter. And I mailed that to the lab. So they had something to compare it with. And they came back and they said, well, all we can tell you is compared to the one you got out of the pharmacy, yours is loaded with Tamsulosin HCl. And the one that out of the pharmacy had only trace amounts. So you could barely find any in it. So they actually contacted Boehringer, the company that makes it, and they asked them if they could get a sample of Tamsulosin HCl so they could test it. And the Boehringer said, we're out of the raw ingredients. So meanwhile, they're selling Flomax in the pharmacy. That it's on commercials and everything, but the real company was out of the raw ingredients. So they're basically selling, this is a big, huge pharmacy company selling just empty capsules.
That stuff happens. Just because you're getting something prescription doesn't mean it's always right. I mean, like I said before, growth hormone in 2001, you can look it up, Serostim, CVS, Walgreens was getting whatever however it was getting in, it was fake GH.
Yeah, but this is not even a pharmacy. This is like the manufacturer of the drug. They didn't have any raw ingredient, which is crazy because I got my raw ingredient right from China.
Yeah.
So I don't know what
that's bad. Yeah. Dennis James, 5 milligrams of Cialis. Yeah, I started taking 5 milligrams of Cialis a few years ago, and I don't take blood pressure medicine, but I would have blood pressure issues before when I was competing, especially when I would jump on like trend, and I would usually just take like Ramipril. Now I recommend Telmisartan to people, but I take that since I've been taking the 5 milligrams of Cialis. I don't get high blood pressure anymore. And my doctor actually said a few years ago, my prostate did feel a little bit enlarged. He's like, just keep an eye on it. It's normal from, taking steroids over the years. And then the last time I went 4 months, he's like, dude, I was like, it's enlarged. He's like, no, your prostate feels good. So
I don't take it daily. I just take it pre-workout 4 days a week.
Yeah. So that's probably enough, but trend cause hiccups.
Not on me, but I heard people get it, so I don't know.
I got it from D-ball before, so it just depends how your system reacts. I had a client before. He was a good bodybuilder. That's the unfortunate thing. He was a pro, and I started prepping him, and this is the best he's ever looked. But he's had a hiccuping problem his whole life, and he had a couple surgeries for it. No doctors could figure it out. And when he got about 3 to 4 weeks out from a show, he had such bad hiccups, and then they would get stuck. He had to gag himself like a toothbrush to make it release. And I think it was the orals, because he was once he got to that phase where you take orals. This guy was like 2 weeks out, and he did several shows prior with different coaches, looked amazing, and he had to not stop eating. It jacked his prep up, and I said, bro, don't do the show. Your body's affected too much. He did it anyways. Like I said, bro, my best wishes to you, but I can't dial you in for it because you don't look right. But a lot of people, certain compounds and orals can cause some hiccups. I found some, and there's even been case studies that shown people started taking a certain steroids and they never got rid of their hiccups. So, trend's strong. Like we said before, it can cause a lot of weird, unwanted things. There you go. There.
I think it was a mental thing. And when I was truly dedicated to bodybuilding, I obsessed over my sleep. Now I am more casual. I get perfect sleep. You see how that works? Yeah. So to be honest with you, if I train too late in the day and
this was a guy that was said when he's lazy or casual, he grows more.
Okay. Well,
this is
anyways,
from earlier.
If I train late in the day and I take my pre-workout and whatever, it's harder for me to go to sleep. And I tend to sometimes train late, and then I get to sleep 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning because I'm just amped up from training. So yeah, maybe if you're training late in the day and you're taking pre-workout and you're all jacked up, it's hard to go to sleep. I also have to take melatonin and some ZMA and stuff to go to sleep. If you're lazy and you're chill and you're not training that hard, probably easier to go to sleep.
So he was asking earlier. So yeah, dude, sleep is huge for growth. I have horrible insomnia. A certain event happened in my life, and after that, I never slept well. I can take something that would kill most people, a range of different pills to go to sleep, and I sleep maybe average. Well, about 3 years ago, I was literally sleeping me and my wife were sleeping 1 or 2 hours a night. We just launched the supplement brand Hardcore, and it was that between kids and that we physically weren't sleeping because we had to make everything work, and we were just working ourselves to death. But sleep's important. Now, most of the nights I get around 4 hours. It sucks, I know. But let's say a weekend comes around, every once in a while, I'll get a good night's sleep, 8 hours. And the next morning I wake up, my body looks dramatically different. I'm full and hard. And so sleep is huge. But a lot of people just can't sleep good, especially as you get older. But you could go do a sleep study. And, when I did my sleep study, I not only had sleep apnea, but I had restless leg syndrome. And I get that's a real thing. They prescribed me a medication to take, but I took it for a little bit. It made me feel weird, and it had a lot of side effects. So I'm not going to take this. I live in Toronto, and Mike Van Wyck is a known associate of the Hells Angels. He's for real. Okay.
So what does that have to do with anything?
Yeah. So a lot of people are in gangs, and what if you're for real? Okay. Does that make you cool or tough? Or he's not at a Hell's Angels meeting. He's at a freaking bodybuilding expo. Most bodybuilders aren't fighters. They're there to look. Let's be real. And bodybuilding, everybody thinks bodybuilders are these scary, muscled up, huge guys, and that has nothing to do. You get your ass beat by a 130-pound guy if you don't know how to fight. So I don't know why people try to act big and tough, they're these, can get in fights, and It makes no sense. Like, they're there at expos to have a good time. The whole prank thing, it's just part of the industry. If you're that angry of a person, don't go to the expo. Like, what? Asking someone's height and weight, I mean, who cares? If it's something more serious where it's worth like fighting for you, you got to look at, you want to get shot or your freedom or whatever. I think fighting's stupid. I'll do anything I can to avoid fighting. I'd rather walk away for someone talking crazy to me than serve the next several years in prison for fighting. Because like Larry said before, you're looked at very differently when you just get in a fight. Like, if my wife gets in a fight with some girl and beats her ass, she might get a few months probation. I go do that, I'm going to get 5 years in prison.
Yep.
That's what people understand with bodybuilding. You know, we really have more negatives than positive than comes with kind of everything. Like, I would look at it sometimes. I'm like, what am I doing? I work my ass off. I force feed. I spend all my money on this, and I get laughed at by the 400-pound woman in the wheelchair that's obese and in a wheelchair because she's fat at the local supermarket. I'm like, you're 400 pounds and obese. So people look down on you. It's really weird because we really work our ass off. I mean, I went from playing high-level soccer right to play professional soccer in Europe. I was playing soccer in Europe. That was hard. Bodybuilding, once I did that, that's a whole nother level because there's no break. It's 24/7, eat, sleep, train. And it's a very hard lifestyle. People don't understand that. So I don't know Mike Fenwick. I don't have a problem with people I don't know unless they've done something personal with me. But I mean, this, like I said, this is not a Hell's Angel meeting. It's a bodybuilding expo. Right, Larry? I mean,
I don't know the guy. I can't speak on it. All I can tell you is when I was in prison, Hell's Angels owed me money and I beat his ass in the cell. So whatever.
yeah, I honestly, one of my best friends growing up, his dad was a Hell's Angel guy. He was super cool, friendly. I know Mel Chansey. He's in the bodybuilding scene. I know he turned his life around and got saved, and he's a perfectly nice guy. So I have no experience talking about, but plenty of people I know are in gangs, and that doesn't make that's just a gang. I mean, I don't know how that has anything to do with anything. Any funny? I didn't know him, but
I
I'm
knew
sure
Rick,
Larry
but
did.
I knew Rick. I was actually on his podcast a few years back before he passed. I know he was he did wrestling like a semi-pro wrestler or something like that, like kind of WWE wrestling. But funny stories, I couldn't tell you.
He seemed like a nice guy, you know, like
Yeah.
his whole demeanor. Armon and Larry, please keep this going. Y'all are so interesting to listen to. We plan to, and we're doing it Wednesday today because I got to go out of the country tomorrow. But we're going to stick probably the same day, Thursday. But y'all, what are we doing this weekly?
You already asked this.
Yeah, he asked it like 10 times in here. John standing the boys on. Yeah, it was pretty bad, man. You know, like you go from just your mom just passed away at a young age and you're visiting at a gravesite, and then that was just the wrong day to mess with me. So normally I could have controlled it, but yeah, that day I couldn't. It would have been bad if they got out of the car. I was out for blood probably. Yeah, we have everyone wants to play tough and act tough, then play victim when you're not doing. Yeah, that's really common.
So somebody mentioned something about Tom Platz. Only thing I can tell you about Tom Platz.
Yeah, I don't know where that went.
He's actually a friend of mine. I met Tom when I was 13 years old, 1 week before the 1981 Olympia. They were having a guest posing at a local show in Santa Monica, and there was a poster of the guest posing in the show on the wall at the Century Athletic Club, which was the club that my father went to play racquetball at. And I saw the poster, and I told my father I wanted to go see it. So we actually got there, and they were doing like the regular NPC or whatever organization they had back then. And Tom was sitting in the bleachers. There was like an outdoor stadium. There was bleachers around it. It was almost like a baseball thing. And he was sitting there in his tracksuit, and I went there specifically to see him guest pose, and he was just sitting there like with one guy, just like waiting. And I walked up to him and I started talking to him. I was just a kid, but I was not shy. And he gave me he autographed and gave me his upper body manual and his leg training manual. And those were like for the next 3 years, those were like my Bibles for training. And then I remember when he was sitting there in the bleachers, he was chewing gum, and the muscle in his jaw, his mastoid muscle, he had cross striations and they were like moving around, and his jaw was huge from that freaking muscle, just like sticking out. And I was like, man, this guy has muscles in his face. And then he went on stage to guest pose. And when he came out, it was freaking freaky. Every time he took a step, the striation in his quads went pff, 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 as he was walking out on the stage. And it was just insane. He looked insane. And yeah, that was 1 week before the 81 Olympia. That was at his all-time best.
Do you think if he had shoulders, he could have been Mr. Olympia?
No, I think he should have been Mr. Olympia in 1981. He should have won.
Okay.
Like, it was between him and Danny Padilla. Danny was more symmetrical, but Tom was just freaky huge and shredded. And in my mind, he should have won. Franco should not have won that Olympia. No way. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't about having shoulder. It was about, Franco was, the fix was in. Anybody can look at those old pictures. Franco had one leg. He had been in an accident with it and messed up his leg in a strongman contest. So he had one leg and one leg that was like half developed next to Tom Platz with the greatest legs of all time. And his upper body was pretty crazy right then.
That's crazy. You guys think Jimmy the Bull will survive? So yesterday, I guess his blood pressure was high on the show. They checked it. You gotta get that stuff checked out. You can't play around with blood pressure. Like my wife, she's a doctor at the heart hospital here, one of the best heart hospitals in Dallas. And it'll give you a stroke, it'll ruin your kidney. I mean, it's not something to play around with. So I know he gets worked up a lot on the show and some, this and that. And if you're like that all the time, yeah, I mean, you're gonna stroke out. I've had so many friends I've told, like, hey, you gotta get your blood pressure on. Oh, I don't want to take blood pressure medicine. I don't, like a lot of people, they don't want to take blood pressure medicines because a lot of blood pressure medicines cause erectile dysfunction. Okay. Ramipril and telmisartan are two that I've told a lot of my clients. I'm not a doctor. Obviously, I suggest what they should take, not just gear wise. And none of them ever had problems with that. And yeah. He just needs everybody. We all need to take care of ourselves. Any of us can pass away tomorrow or about anything. I don't know what this is. Dear Larry, where do you see yourself? Oh,
I don't know what that means.
10 years from now. 10 years from now.
10 years from now, I'll be running my gym. I'll still be running my gym. That's what I see myself doing. Maybe doing these podcasts. I don't know.
Was your estrogen in range when you had painful joints on DH7? No, mine was low. Did you get blood work during that time?
It doesn't matter. My estrogen is in range. Yeah, I take a DHT compound, and like my joints hurt the next day.
Yeah,
it's like it's almost instantly. So yeah.
Or was it crashed?
No, it wasn't crashed. It was normal range. But for some reason, the DHTs immediately affect me like that.
What's your guys' body count, and what do you think of Tony Hughes' body count is? Are we talking about murdering people? Because I think, or women. That means two different things. You ask killers, what's your body count, and they'll tell you. I'm assuming you're talking about women. I'll say I don't know. I don't think guys keep track of that stuff. I know females might. I'll just say this. If I could go back in time, I would literally take most every single woman I slept with out of the equation. So it gets to a point, like I was at a point before I was just doing it. Like I would have 4 different girls come to my apartment a day. And literally it wasn't even enjoyable. I was just doing it just to do it, just because I was looking to fulfill something or I was bored. And I would literally feel gross after they left. I'm like, ugh, just like, ugh. But I have no idea. It's way too many, but way too much. But I'm not proud of that. Larry?
I had a period for about 10 years when I first got out of prison when I was young that I had too many. And then I kind of got over it. About 10 years.
A lot of problems come with women.
Yeah, I got over it. Like the 10 years, I was like, maybe 2-3 different ones on a week. And then finally I was just like, what am I doing? It's just like,
you have a girlfriend now or no?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, once you find a special person, it's like, it's sex gets boring. It does. Like if you have it all the time, it's just something like you do daily with random people, I mean, sex is really made for a connection with somebody. They did this study. I don't know how accurate it was. It was like women that had certain guys, not with men, but the women carried that guy's DNA with them for like the rest of their life. It was a long study. I remember I sent it to Dave at the time. It's pretty gross. So it's like they carried that guy's DNA, whoever they slept with, for like the rest of their life. I don't know what that matters, but it just sounds gross. I don't know how true that was or not, but I just have, for younger people, like that guys are, oh man, I booked this girl. Like, dude, it's the easy part is to get the girl. The hard part is to get rid of the girl, or to get rid of the girl without having problems. You break up with certain girls, they're going to try to ruin your life. That girl in their mind, they have things planned out. We're going to get serious. We're going to get married. We're going to have kids. And you could just be thinking, hey, I'm just hooking up with this girl weekly. I've got myself in so many like scary situations, like actually terrified of the girl, because I didn't know how I was going to break up with them for them not to retaliate. And the 2 main things in my life that I've been in trouble for legally, serious trouble, was made up stuff by a woman that I broke up with. And it wasn't just like a slap. It was serious charges. Like, and on paper, it made me look insane. There was no evidence. There was no pictures. It was nothing. So be careful out there, because women can ruin your life in a second. And most men downfall is women, even in history, in the Bible, in whatever. Women can ruin your life and will. Use low-fat milk, everything, yogurt for sauces, mixed up with spices. Boom, there's your sauce. You can take it. Well, I don't think yogurt, not on contest prep.
I don't do any dairy products anymore, except for once in a while I have that cottage cheese. That's the lactose-free cottage cheese. But even that kind of messes me up.
It still messes you, because most people just have a trouble with dairy. It's like not only lactose. It's just, I can't do dairy. When I do, I pay for it. Like, there's this ice cream I love, and I said, every time I eat it, I'm like, I'm never doing this again. And I end up doing it again. And I'm sick for like 2 days. Most people can't handle, dairy, but I don't have one. I don't like any fat burners. I don't even like Clean. And I only took that for a few shows. I can get away without taking Clean, but and if I do, it's like only 20 micro. I hate Clean. It makes me headaches. I get these cramps in my neck. Which, back to your jaw thing earlier with Tom Platz, like you see all these stupid devices they sell now. Like it says, like, get a more muscular jaw. It's like you can chew on it all day to work out your jaw.
Yeah, I don't know what that's all about.
So your muscle right there, and a lot of bodybuilders, they have pronounced muscles because when you take steroids, it builds muscle, and in your face it will build muscle. And if you're grinding all the time, when you're working out, it's going to build muscle. My TMJ is so bad. I have such bad jaw pain. I started getting Botox shot in my jaw a couple years ago. So when I would wake up in the morning, I'd had the worst tension headaches, neck aches, jaw pain, because I was grinding. other than, protecting your teeth, which I wear a mouthpiece now. Well, I'm actually Invisalign now because I've worn away so much of enamel, but doing Botox there, like every 3 months, completely got rid of my jaw pain and TMJ.
So answer that question. For me, when I was competing, I used Clen and I never had any problem with it. I also used ephedrine caffeine and I didn't have a problem with it either. But now I'm not competing and I don't need a fat burner, so I don't use anything. Although actually what I do use pre-workout is Yohimbe, but I do it for the pump. I don't do it for fat burning.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Didn't mean any insult by how people look. I want to try Armon's MK67, just trying to do all my research, understand side effects. I get questions asked a lot. People think they're going to take like a little bit of growth hormone and their face is going to just morph. That's no. Like I said, you've got, even what Hani told me, he said, any more than 8 to 10 IUs a day, you're going to start getting, cranial growth. And there's a lot of bodybuilders, we know them, their head, and then you can see their head protruding out a lot. And then so even Samson Dowda, you can see his excessive skull growth. And it does happen. These guys are taking 15 to 20 IUs though. You don't need that much. That's way too much. Our Ceromax, which is our MK677, we sell a lot of that because it really works. It's sold as research because you have to research with it. But it's just like growth hormone, so your growth hormone, you're shooting synthetic growth hormone and it shoots your pulses higher. Okay. All MK does is make your pulses throughout the day higher. Like since I'm retired, growth hormone is expensive, so I don't take it year round anymore. I can take my Ceromax, which is MK677, and I feel good on it. My joints feel good. Everything feels good. I did just start taking a little bit of GH again because I'm trying to get in like just a different kind of shape. But yeah, try it out. You'll love it. Everybody that researches with it loves it. And but yeah, we've taken low amounts of GH. What's the most GH you've ever taken, Larry?
I don't think I ever took high amounts, to be honest with you. Maybe 3-4 units, most tops. But now, I mean, last 10 years, I don't go over 2 units at a time.
The highest I went was 10. That was.
I know if I go over 2 units, my blood sugar starts to go up. Yeah. So I don't go over 2 units. And 2 units works fine. So why do I need to take more? And I don't want to. Yeah. I don't want to turn myself into a diabetic. So why do I want to take more? If I take more GH, I'm going to have to take more insulin to balance out the GH. So I just don't go over 2 units.
Yeah, you do. What do you guys think about banging fat girls for a little extra cardio resistance training?
Doesn't interest me.
No, I never like obese. It's weird because what's in today, the women are actually like kind of obese. What everybody likes today. I like the old Baywatch look, like a nice tight little glutes. These guys like today, they're like, look at that. I'm like, dude, that's an obese woman. I'm not attracted to that.
Yeah, I don't get it either.
I'm like, that woman's legs is like this, and they have a big, obese, saggy, cellulite butt, and that's gross to me. I don't like that. I don't know why guys like that now.
Not my thing.
It's weird. It's in. Armon, can you give me an example of a lie said on a podcast? I'm not going to call up anybody directly. I mean, there's too many.
Yeah, people lie all the time about all kinds of shit.
Yeah, constantly. Every time I watch a podcast, they'll be like, yeah, I've never taken that amount of stuff. People lie about what they take a lot. I've got accused of it before. I've never lied about it. There's no point to lie about what you take. It doesn't make you cooler. I guess people want to say, oh man, your genetics are crazy. But people lie about what they take a lot. People lie in bodybuilding, or they might not act like they know what's going on around them in the industry, because that's just the way it is. The industry's always kind of been that way. You can't really talk about everything that's going on. It's just, like I said, back when we were talking before, I got blackballed certain things because certain judges, and I got tired of certain things. I started speaking out, and it doesn't end up well. But lying, not everybody. I mean, there's a good podcast out there. That's what like RX is for, to like be truthful, and we say whatever we want. But other podcasts, I don't watch too many other podcasts. I watch Dennis podcasts. I really like Chris Cormier and Milo Saltic. That's like that group goes together well. And then I'll watch Jay's podcast sometimes. But other than that, like, how podcast ends and one starts. One podcast might be on and I might be in the bathroom or getting ready to take a shower, and I'll start listening to a subject. It might be good. But there's certain podcasts that I just can't listen to at all. They're really bad. So I think people try too hard. And
to be honest with you, the only bodybuilding related podcast that I listen to is Vigorous Steve, because he really knows his shit. And I mean, seriously, he gives out some really good information. So I actually listen to like stuff he says. He does like in-depth studies and stuff, and he knows his shit. I don't agree with everything that he says, but he gives out a lot of good information. But other bodybuilding, I listen to Heavy Muscle Radio because I like listening to Chris Aceto's opinions on things.
Yeah.
That's it. There's no other podcasts that I like listen to and that impressed with what they have to say, to be honest with you.
Yeah, like I've always watched. I liked watching Chris Aceto talk even before. I've been on RX over.
I mean, honestly, before bodybuilding podcasts, I listen to Patrick Ben-David or Joe Rogan.
Yeah,
because I want to know what's going on in the world, like bodybuilding.
What do you think about Patrick bringing what's his name in? Como.
It was just an interview. I mean, I don't think anything about it.
He hired him to be part of the show now.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, a lot of people were pissed off, Patrick McDavid fans, because he hired him. He gave him a
I didn't know.
Now.
I just thought he was. I heard one podcast where he was talking on it. I didn't know he was hired.
No, yeah, he came on that podcast, and I guess Patrick likes, he can, go back and forth with somebody and not hate them, which it should be that way. I remember, did you ever watch Patrick and Bill Maher? It was a train wreck. Bill was so nasty to him on there.
No, I didn't see that one.
Yeah,
but I watched one recently with him and Joe Rogan. It was really good.
Yeah.
It was really good.
Yeah, but he hired him permanently, and a lot of people were like, why? I understand to get different opinions and all that, but people were just like, whatever. But yeah, when Bill Maher, which I never liked that much anyways, him and Patrick went on his show, and he was so drunk and high, like the whole show, and just kept getting more drunk. He was so disrespectful to Patrick, just was pretty nasty to him. And Patrick just handled himself like a gentleman, and just kind of after the podcast, Patrick spoke about on his podcast. He's like, man, that was the hardest podcast I have ever done. So,
yeah, I didn't see it.
Yeah, just watch the show, bro. This is all recorded. We posted on both our channels. So, you guys like cats? I feel like they're great companions and sweet animals.
I'm into dogs. I'm a dog person.
So, I was a dog person. Like my first dog was a little schnauzer, which I fell in love with. I got him 6th grade, and I had him until I was 27. I remember he passed away right before my bodybuilding show, and I was devastated. I was crying for days and all that stuff. But once I've had children, and I'm allergic to dogs too. When I did my allergy test, I'm highly allergic to dogs. So even though I enjoyed them before, if I'm around a dog, especially one that sheds heavy, I get really sick, like my head and all that stuff. We did it today, but I went and got an IV earlier, a vitamin IV, because I have a sinus infection. My sinuses are bad, but I do the vitamin IVs instead of antibiotics because I hate antibiotics. I've taken so many. I'm not a huge fan of cats. We had one around the house. Cats feel like just kind of unpredictable. You don't know if they're going to scratch you or kind of bite you. But so like I said, since I've had my kids, I just don't. I have an interest in having an animal.
I had cats
anymore.
growing up, but I've always been more dogs. I don't know. Dogs are more loyal.
It's more interactive. Cats kind of like are independent, do their own thing, and
Yeah.
you know. Has bodybuilding and discipline either one of you guys in other areas of life? If so, in what area?
Yeah, 100%.
Yes.
I'm not going to get into details, but I'm going to just tell you like this. In business, it definitely made me better at business. You know, just more disciplined, like running my business, being on a schedule, getting things done. You know, because when you're bodybuilding, you have to be on a schedule with your eating, your training, all that stuff, and you know, working a lot. When I was a marketing manager, I kicked ass as a marketing manager. I was top 10 in a marketing company as a manager out of 300 offices nationwide in a multi-million-dollar organization. And the reason I was able to do that, because I could outwork everybody. Like I could just work nonstop and go to the gym and train and still freaking work like crazy hours. So it gives you like drive. If you can do this, you can do other things. Yeah. Like I can
That's
just
what I've
work.
always said too.
I can work like a lot, and I get shit done. That's all I can tell you. It's just like training, you know, training and eating. You got to be disciplined. I have business to do. I get shit done.
I think, like Larry said, if you can bodybuild, if you can, that just to live that lifestyle is so difficult. But when you retire or whenever when you put that sort of work ethic or energy, I know a lot of people, they retire and they don't know what to do. I'm like, dude, if you put that work ethic to anything else, like especially something you're interested in, halfway interested in, you can go a long way. That's why a lot of these bodybuilders are very successful. But you got the other ones, on the other hand, that they don't. Some bodybuilders are some of the laziest people I've met too. Other than eat, sleep, and train, they don't want to do anything. And
this is true. I know some bodybuilders that just smoke pot and don't do shit and have no ambition. So it's not necessarily in everything, but they're not driven in the first place. You know, and you know what? They're not good competitors either. They suck at their diets. They suck at everything. But the people that are really disciplined, that like stayed on the diet, don't miss workouts, all that kind of stuff, you know, you can apply that to other things in life and it'll take you a long way. I 100% believe that.
I have a lot of people that it's weird. They can do the bodybuilding stuff, but other than that, they're worthless at everything. And I tell them, I'm like, listen, I get it. You're making money now and all that stuff, and you're able to bodybuild, but it's going to suck pretty bad when you're making your fast money you're getting now and actually have to work. And a lot of people have a really hard adjustment and they become bums. So I think when you're bodybuilding, it's important. Some people can afford, especially when they got big contracts, just to bodybuild. But I still think it's important you do some sort of work. Like, you know, I think that's a waste of time that to just like people that go over to Kuwait to just eat, sleep, and train. I would lose my mind over there. You're not work. I mean, unless you got like some social media stuff and all that. But those guys, most of them say it's so freaking boring over there, then they come back. So.
What's your take on legal cannabis gummies being sold in the market today? Well, all I can tell you is not gummies, but I had these edible like little tablets, and I was using them post leg workout, only on leg day, because on leg I like literally destroy my legs on leg day, and I would take it like a half of one on a leg training, just so I wouldn't cramp up and kind of be able to chill out and eat and relax. But I realized, you know, I did that for, I don't know, maybe several months. And I realized that usually I train legs on Saturday, and I do that on purpose because my legs are still wrecked on Sunday. So Sunday is my like off day to like clean house and just do whatever. But I found that even doing that, like when I go back to work on Monday, I was still a little slow. Like my brain wasn't moving as fast as it should be. So I basically stopped doing that. Now, just after leg day, I take a regular muscle relaxer, so I don't cramp up as bad. But I just found like even doing it just once a week, it kind of lingered in me, and I was a little slow motion. Like I was just like, and it made me like not motivated. Like even 2 days later, I just wasn't motivated to like go work. I just wanted to
Especially edibles.
Yeah, I just wanted to hang around, you know. So
a lot of people love them.
You know, but most of the people that I know that have done it, and I've known everybody like since I was a kid, and they tell me, "Oh, I function fine on pot. You know, I can do everything," and they think that and they believe that because in their speed of doing things, they're doing things like they normally do, which is in slow fucking motion. But if you look at them, they're in slow motion all day long. They're like slow. They're talking slow. They're moving slow. They're not getting shit done. They're in constant slow motion all the time. I wouldn't say everybody, but I think most people, that it definitely slows you down.
A lot of people tell me they like to smoke before they go to the gym. It makes them get an extra contraction, and that's all in your mind.
I can't even imagine.
I tried it once and I hated it. I couldn't feel a contraction. So
yeah, it makes me want to sleep. I just want to lay around. I don't want to go train.
I'm not we were talking about that before the show. I was never a huge.
But that's what I'm saying. People that do it, they smoke like all day, every day. Like I know this chick, she's a massage therapist. She was like smokes all day, every day for years and years. She can train on it because she's like so used to being high. That's her normal. That's like her normal way of being. To her, that's
without
just
it, they're on the edge. Without it, they're on the edge and like they're not okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I have no clue. No one famous I can think of, really.
I can think of a couple.
Go ahead.
I'm not going to say. Well, I mean, like, it'd be disrespectful. Like, my girlfriend right now, like, she's freaking hot. But that's in my opinion.
Yeah. If there's news on Leo, you're probably going to hear about it. I mean, I don't think that's ever going to be I mean, who knows?
All I can tell you like this, I don't know whatever happened to Leo, but my brother was murdered when I was 13 years old. And I wondered my whole life what happened. And some guy did some dude dug into his case and they found out what happened. And this is like I just found out a few years, like 3 or 4 years ago. And he was literally he was murdered. And he was murdered by the government. And the whole thing came out. And that's like 40 years later. 40 years later, it came out. So who knows if they're going to find out the truth about Leo? I don't know. But my brother's case, I always wondered my whole life, like, why did that happen? What happened? I didn't know, like, what happened. And the real story came out, and it's pretty freaking crazy what happened. That's all I can say.
We'll dip into it another show if you feel comfortable.
Yeah, it's too much to go into right now.
The thing with Leo, like I think we said on a previous episode, Leo was really nasty to a lot of people, and so he didn't really have any friends or family that he was okay with. I think if there was more of that and people kind of pushing the thing, and he was known as like a decent guy, maybe so, but I don't know anybody that says I miss Leo, or people want to, like, it's kind of like you want to know because it's a mystery, right? But anything can happen. You know, there's all these cases like with Larry's brother down the road, 20 years later, 30 years later, someone looks into it and wants to there's someone out there that knows other than the killer. It could be a girlfriend, or we don't even know it's not a girl. You just never know. But could it come out? Yeah, it could be any day, or it could be years, but you know, the truth comes out a lot, or it can never be solved. I mean, it's just like kind of like probably what we think has something to do with beating up girls, or maybe we're completely wrong, but it's weird. And it's
just knowing what I knew of Leo personally, he was so abrasive. I just think he just pissed off the wrong person.
Yeah, me too. But
You know, he just pissed off the wrong
Tony's
person.
behavior, I think Tony knows. His behavior was freaking weird. If you didn't know, he just acted guilty. If he knew or what, it's just like, why would you keep making these videos trying to like explain every detail? It was just so
And now he's
awkward.
just
I don't know.
disappeared off the freaking planet. So, you know, that tells you something.
I know he left Thailand, right? He moved to the Philippines.
Yeah.
So all that stuff's just weird. And I think Tony knows, but Tony is,
right.
Thoughts on microdosing PDs? I heard Trin is good for your prostate, very low dose. No. I think that's a joke, but
yeah.
Cats are creepy. Nothing on Leo, like we just said. You and Larry have the best podcast. I was in prison for 18 years for drug trafficking. This is the best podcast. Y'all are best. Y'all tell how it is. We're glad you enjoy it. We just started, and I think this is a month exactly. So we just started. I think conversation back and forth is good. And like I said, I think too many podcasts, people try too much, or people get nervous on cam. It's just like it's like you're just talking with a buddy about subjects and the camera's rolling. That's how
I'm just going to tell you like this. I'm not going to say names because I'm not going to talk shit about people, you know, quote behind their back or whatever. But when certain people get on a certain show, I fucking tune out. Like their voice just makes me like, before I was on the podcast, I wouldn't watch the show because I didn't want to hear them talk. And now when they talk, I just tune out. I can't listen to it. It's so idiotic and moronic, and they say nothing of value that I just don't want to hear it. So I just shut up. That's why you see me like falling asleep on there. Like when certain people get on there, they start talking, and it's like I'm not gonna try to talk over them. I'm not gonna try to argue with them. I'm not gonna try to debate anything with them because they have nothing of value to say. So I just shut up.
Yeah, I think let's see. Yeah, Drudge. I'm glad you enjoy the podcast.
In Niagara Falls, no. I've trained at I trained at all Gold's Venice, Gold's North Hollywood, but I did meet Greg Kovacs, and he was huge. One of the hugest people I've ever seen.
I read the other day that restless leg syndrome burns amount of calories during the day. No joke. I don't know. I haven't read any studies. I just know I never wake up and feel like, oh, I got a great night's sleep. I never feel that way, and it sucks because I do miss feeling that way. Creatinine levels 1.3 concerning on a cruise. Can you answer that, Larry?
I'm assuming that's a high level. I don't know how high that is.
Yeah.
I've never had high creatinine, so I'd have to check how high that level is. But basically, if your creatinine is too high, that's could be kidney damage. So it could be something to be concerned about.
Yeah. So creatinine levels is like 0.6 or 0.7 to like I think 1.3. So you're on the cutoff for creatinine levels. That's fine. You're on a cruise and you take gear, so your blood work is going to be different depending what you're on or not. That's not. I mean, I would talk to your doctor with it just to make sure. I'm not a kidney specialist, but that's like right in the range.
Yeah, anything that's within range and normal range, even if it's on the high end of range, is still okay. It's if you get like way out of normal range, that's when you got to be concerned about something.
Yeah, so being 1.3, that's in the normal range. So essentially that's safe. So, yeah. But when you get on cycle, what is it going to? You know what I mean? Or how much, you know what I mean? So it's going to be different on and off cycle. So.
I will say that I don't believe that. And I will say, yeah, I don't believe that because I don't think that's enough to do what he did. However, I will say this, he probably did that cycle like, you know, sometimes, but I'm sure when he was getting ready for the Olympia, he took a little bit more than that. You know,
there wasn't really like a rule book then. So like now everybody's like, okay, I've got to take this much grams of this much of this. And I think that gets a lot of people into trouble because it's really high. You know, like growth hormone, like the normal was like always like 2-3 IUs. I was taking for a show. Now the new norm is at least 10 to 15 IUs. And that's for not even people competing. That's crazy to me. That's just nuts.
Although let me back up and say, you know, Victor Richards, all he took was Deca. And I believe that because, I mean, he was like 19 years old and I would hang around with him and he showed me like, this is what I took. And this is like the little bottle of Deca, 200 milligrams. And honestly, he smoked pot all day long and I don't think he had much money. So he probably did take just that in a small dose. And he just was a freak. Some people just have crazy genetics. So it's possible.
But guys, we're at the 2-hour mark. I got to get haircuts. Like gotta leave in like literally 10 minutes. So let's answer a couple more. Yeah, he's been going to the doctor a lot. That's his own thing. A permanent memory. Larry.
I don't think Mike was that big into rest pause when I trained with him. He did force reps and negatives. We didn't do a lot of rest pause, to be honest with you. So, and I've done rest pause and I'm not a huge fan of it. I think it's okay, but I like drop sets. Once I have the weight in my hand and tension, I'd want to do that until the set's over. Once I put the weight down and relax, it's like, I can't just like 20 seconds later, like all of a sudden be jacked up again.
All right, guys, one more. Let's see. 2 more questions. I'll do one from you. I used to be a stripper back in the day when I was 21, like you, Armon. I learned fast. Girls are evil. All of them would try to sleep with me and were married. Yeah. When I did it, literally, most of these girls were married or getting married, and they would literally try to have sex with you. And I never did. I would never, ever sleep with girls when they were getting married. That actually turned me off, and I felt really bad for their husbands that they were marrying that piece of garbage. One more. Let's see. I'll pick the one for Larry or both of us. Yeah, back in the day, they were a lot smaller strippers. They're a little bigger.
Yeah, I'm not into that big heavy set thing. I don't know.
Bigger Steve, and he bro science. He's a read. I don't know him. I don't really watch him, so I don't know. Larry says,
listen, that the guy is not bro science. He actually does train. He actually does take cycles. He actually did compete at one point, and he does a lot of research, and he's got really good information he puts out. So no, it's not bro science. He actually posts tons of studies and stuff, and he does a shit ton of research, and he gives good information. So I listen to him. He's one of the few people on steroids that I listen to at all. Most people, all
right, guys, last question. Did you guys ever have issue with some markers on blood? If so, I'll answer real quick. Yes, I've had markers on blood before. It was by a doctor. I was on contest prep. He didn't know any of the stuff I was taking. He was like, you're going to die. Your kidneys are going to fail. Your liver's going to fail. You're about to have a heart attack. And then I just went to another doctor that saw a bodybuilder. He's like, dude, you're fine. Come get blood work a few weeks after your cycle. I think I went in at 6 to 8 weeks, and everything was back down. What about you, Larry? Your blood work
my liver enzyme has been elevated like forever. Every single time
I think every bodybuilder. I don't know one
I've always had elevated liver enzymes, but I've had ultrasounds on my liver, biopsy on my liver, fucking every kind of test on my liver, and there's like nothing wrong with my liver. So go figure.
The thing is, just working out is going to raise your enzymes, and a lot of athletes have high level enzymes too that are natural. So that's just you can't go by like your liver enzymes if you're how your liver health is. So you need to do like further testing on that. We appreciate you guys. We went long today. We'll see you guys next week. Make sure you check out my website, armonadb.com. It will be below. Products, coaching, digital downloads. Check out Larry's website and gym.
Undergroundperformancegym.com, and we got products and gym memberships and everything else.
And we went long today, guys. Good episode. We'll see y'all next week. Y'all have an amazing weekend.
Have a good trip.